Hello, and welcome to the Devil's Advocate podcast. And another brilliant weekend for the Manchester United and the Manchester United faithful, because we picked up another win. Sad news on the mighty Tipton Town, defeated once again, but we'll gloss over that today. Just before we get started, I've got some great guests as usual, Hamma, Freddie and Phil. But just a quick reminder that we are partnered up with Manchester Mind. So as we always say, and we just want to keep reiterating it, pushing it. If there's anybody out there that you're not sure is happy, just give them a cuddle, give them a phone call, give them a text, check in on anybody, loved ones, friends, somebody you've not heard of for a few days, just to make sure they're okay, because we all need somebody outside our friendship group that we can talk to. As always, all panelists throughout Devil's Advocate are available if you want to reach out to us confidentially through our Twitter handles or other social media platforms. Don't be afraid. There's nothing to be ashamed or embarrassed about. If you need to speak, please speak. Guys, welcome. Hamma, welcome. Freddie, welcome. And Phil, welcome. We win again. And Rasmus was absolutely delightful for 12 minutes. And then worked his absolute socks off for very, very little reward after that. We'll get into it. I'll tell you what my thoughts are once we've gone around the panel. So start with you, Hamma. Welcome. And just give us your thoughts on the game.
Well, it was good to get the early goals on their errors, but and the first 15 minutes we were playing really well, but I think it turned into a rough game and a tough game, and I think Freddie mentioned it while we were backstage. There are teams have gone there and struggled lately at them, so I guess we can give them credit for that. But my issue is more so like it seems every time a couple things don't go our way, too many of our guys on the pitch lose our head, including people who should be leaders. And I think it turned into a tougher game than it needed to be for us. And if we were just more, I'm sure we're going to talk about it. If we were more clinical and just a little bit more clean in our overall game, we wouldn't have been so stressed out, coming up to the end of that game. We would have killed it off.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Freddie, welcome to the show as always, Freddie. Hammer made a great point. We made it kind of difficult for ourselves. What do you think the catalyst on that was, and why do you think we did it? But that's also bear in mind that Luton did something very, very similar to City. City struggled there and scraped a 2-1 win. I think their goal was towards the end, if my memory serves me right, towards the end of the match. So from our point of view, we're slightly better than City, but Hammer's right to dissect it, to try and work out where it went wrong, or just Luton a bit more industrious than us in the end. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, evening to evening, everyone. It's a tricky one. That first 10-12 minutes was absolutely brilliant, and we've seen it a lot so far this season. We've had a good start, and then something happens, and we just fall off a cliff edge. On this circumstance as well, it was a fortuitous goal, I think, from the Luton side, and then from then on, they controlled the rest of the half. We seemed to claw it back in the second half and see it out, I think, with a few good tactical changes, which you've got to commend Ten Hag on, given the result. I think it is partly our fault that we did drop off. The passing was very sloppy after the Luton goal. We couldn't retain possession for periods in the game. I think Kobe Mainoo was the only one who looked like he had any composure on the ball, any ability to keep the ball for, periods of play. And we had chances which we just didn't take, and nothing materialised from them. I think 3 1-on-1s, and we just tried to go take it around the keeper, worked with Højlund, and then Garnacho and Bruno. Obviously, it didn't work, and the goalie had a good game, but I think on another day we could have got 4 or 5. So I think we're partly to blame, and that you can't. Conversely, you have to praise Luton. I think they were brilliant. They overloaded the midfield at times. I don't think we could handle their build-up play. They pinned our wingers back with the fullbacks, and I think we were certainly in the first half. We were fortunate possibly not to get a player sent off or concede a few more goals. So, yeah, a very good game. Like I mentioned, there's a few teams who've gone there that struggle. Liverpool, Arsenal, sort of last minute wins. City, turnaround. I think Newcastle lost there. So, very happy to take away the points. That was the most important outcome of the game, and a good weekend given others around us dropped points too.
Yeah, onwards and upwards. Phil, welcome as usual, mate. Good to see you. You'd have been absolutely drooling as a striker the first 10, 15 minutes, wouldn't you? The mistakes that they made. I thought Højlund took his first goal exceptionally well. I mean, you've borne down on a keeper many a time, and it's not as easy as it looks, is it? You know, and I thought he took it well. Just talk us through Højlund's goal and his anticipation and finish.
Yeah, I think obviously the first 15 minutes was really good, and as a centre forward, you know, after scoring a goal so early, your confidence just goes through the roof. And I think they took the goal really well, anticipated. You know, that as a centre forward, that's a big part of your game. You know, anticipating where people are going to or where people are going to be passing the ball, so that you make an intelligent run, really, just in case the sort of mistake happens. And so early in a game to have that confidence and just take it round the keeper and plot it. I think, you know, that's a different Rasmus Højlund that we're seeing now after the sort of, you know, the last 5 or 6 games where he's now confident in front of goal. He's finding the back of the net. I think, you know, if you sort of look back maybe to sort of a few months ago when he was maybe struggling, that kind of chance is the one where he goes through and he's maybe a little bit indecisive but I think obviously full of confidence and you know, he just made it look easy, as you say, which is not, you know, as easy as it looks. So a great start for him. And you know, the second goal, a little bit of good improvisation for me. You know,
it's tremendous, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
tremendous.
You know, the volleys come and it's an awkward angle, and I think he's, as he said, post-match interview, you know, he's meant to obviously direct the ball back on target with chest, and a fantastic goal. So yeah, I think he was, you know, starved really after that of any real quality service. I think it probably would have been justified if he'd have slotted that third one where he sort of went through and just decided to lift it. But overall, it was a great performance by him. Personally, left the line well, sort of, you know, held the ball well for us in periods of the game where we needed to take this game out of it. I think the lads have touched on there where, you know, we sort of made too many unforced errors and was sort of compounding the pressure. Obviously, Luton, you've got to give them credit, you know, going 2-0 down so early. They didn't really change their game plan. They kept going forward and putting us under pressure. I think that's where you sort of show a little bit more in-game management and experience from some of your bigger players who, unfortunately, today didn't quite, you know, show that maturity levels that we should be seeing. And I think Freddie touched on it. Kobe Mainoo was really the only one who I thought, you know, he took the game by the scruff of the neck. It was, you know, really composed in tight ball, well, intelligently passing. So again, you know, that's something where we definitely need to improve moving forward, because this style of play and this type of game that we seem to be playing in the last couple of games, especially where we are getting over the line, isn't sort of something that, you know, has got longevity. I think we need to sort of start being a little bit more playful in terms of, you know, seeing a game off, but then also making sure we get more, you know, professional in the way we go about keeping the ball and
yeah, not too. You're cutting in and out a little bit, Phil. Just a tiny bit, mate. Yeah. I thought you're right. If you can hear me, and still stay on with this, because I think you're absolutely right about Højlund's first attempt. But I was looking at Kaminsky's position and the way he came out. He almost offered Højlund, didn't he, to his favoured left foot, and then attempt to try and push him. But then he went to push his arm out, Kaminsky, and then kind of brought it back, which gave Højlund the space. I wonder whether a more, if Kaminsky had kind of stayed up a little bit more, you know, Højlund have had to have something to think about, wouldn't he?
Yeah, definitely. As I say, I think, you know, when you're running through on goal like that, it is, you know, there's 100 things going through your head, and I think you've got to show a real bit of composure. And I think so early on in a game as well, you're not really expecting that golden opportunity to sort of arrive. And as I say, I think because of how confident he is at the moment with the goal scoring run and the sort of purple patch he's on, he took that like he's a seasoned professional, and it was a great composed finish.
No, I totally agree. Hamma, the defender that's in you obviously would have, I don't know, as a Manchester United fan, you would have loved the defensive mistake, but actually from a defender, I thought they recovered quite well. I thought their back three recovered very, very well in terms of how they played the remainder of the game. What was your thoughts on Luton's back?
Not only, I mean, they recovered well in their overall game, but then also for lack of words and lack of my brain working fully, they recovered well in recovering as well. All those extra one-on-ones that we missed and we didn't get the goals and we weren't clinical enough. The goalie did make a save for a few of them, but some of them was also those defenders getting back. And just having and not only I think a few of them actually made a tackle, but then also them getting back as a defender. Sometimes all you're trying to do is hold the ball up. Yeah, and that's what they were able to do. Some of our guys had to start taking it wide. Keeper was able to poke a couple of them wide, and so as the overall defense, they stepped up, and I think it's one of those situations where Manchester United is coming to your ground, so you're going to come up and give everything you've got. But I also think those players are playing harder, which is kind of a shame, but they're playing harder than some Manchester United players are playing. And when you have all 11 playing in that type of energy and in that type of effort against one where you might have half or a little more than half playing at that effort, it's going to show. As a defender, it's nice, but it's nice to see as a Manchester United fan, but as a defender, you're gonna get frustrated in different things. And I also would like to say, both in terms of playing in the back on our defensive end and playing out from the back, and then also at times up top. And I think I tweeted at one point, everything is an extra touch with everybody on this team, and it was driving me up a wall the more I started noticing it. Both with things in the back when trying to play out from the back, and we started getting pressed and having turnovers. And opportunities up front where I can think of two specific ones. I believe Garnacho laid it off to Dallo, and instead of hitting it first time as he's running into the box, he tries to take a touch, and the defender is able to recover pace, and he can't get a clean shot off. And then Garnacho, and another one is the one who gets it laid off to him, and he does the same thing, he tries to take an extra touch.
Yeah.
So I don't know what is up with that. That's driving me up a wall, and it's all I started to see at one point. But the extra touch thing is making me lose my mind.
Yeah. Freddie, I'm going to give Alex to you. He's saying here that we defended, it was bad tactics. Alex, I failed to see what you're talking about. You're going to have to elaborate in the chat, really, because I'm not quite sure where we parked the bus from. We were quite expansive for as much of the game as we were allowed to be. Luton pressed us very, very well. So please, give us your thoughts in the chat, please, pal. Freddie, I'll give you that. Then I want to ask you about Chong, because I thought Luton's dynamic changed when Chong went off. I thought Chong had a terrific game today. I thought most of Luton's attacking threat went through him in that kind of hybrid 8/10 position. I thought he was decent today.
Yeah, I think
Alex first.
Yeah, so I mean, in terms of parking the bus, it's just wrong. We maybe in the last 5 minutes when we took off Rasmus for Amrabat, but then you're seeing the game out at that stage, and if you win the game, it doesn't matter. That's all that matters. So we've got the 3 points, and actually, I think Rob Edwards actually said before the match, this game is actually a game that they relish more than like the Sheffield game last week, for example, whereby we have the possession, we're on the front foot, and then they can counter-attack us. So they had a clear game plan on that side, which just highlights that we weren't just sitting back and defending. But yeah, look, Chong was very dangerous. I think that most of the Luton attacks were on their left-hand side. So, I mean, as I mentioned earlier, they sort of pinned back our fullbacks. Dallo and Garnacho was so deep at times, defending against Chong. And is it Doughty, the the left.
No, it's Alfie, good old Alfie Doughty.
Alfie Doughty, he's got a very good left foot on him, putting in crosses, and that's their main outlet. The amount of I think they put in the most crosses this season. And we've actually got the best aerial stats defensively. I think Varane's top and Maguire's third or fourth in terms of aerial clearances. So it was they had a game plan and they were utilising it very well. Their goal came from Chong, so
did well, didn't he?
He did do well. Both the ex-United players did well. I think Mengi did very well as well, but Chong as well. I think naturally second half they tired. So going off the sort of tide shifted, and then they brought their experience on with Townsend. So it was a good game. They're a good team, Luton. They're overachieving compared to where they are given their budget. So I think we did very well. I think Johnny Evans was fantastic, just changing the subject slightly. When he came on second half, it really stabilised the defence. And I actually think Ten Hag was spot on, taking Casemiro off, taking Maguire off, taking Højlund off when he did. And Luke Shaw, God knows why he's played if he can't play another 40, or he only got 40 minutes. There's something deeper there, which I'm sure will come out this week.
Definitely. This is just for Julio. There you go, Julio. Beat those.
Stu, between those and the haircut, I mean, where are you going this weekend, Stu?
I've got it, haven't I? I've got it going. I've got it going on. Look at that. No. Sorry, Freddie. Carry on, please.
No, I'm seeing a lot of comments post game just of how we're just so volatile, how we always play well first 10 minutes and then we just crash and burn. And a lot of people are putting that down to the manager. I think it's a good question. I know we've got an agenda today, but it'd be good to just get everyone's thoughts on is that something Ten Hag has influence on, or is that just the players? Maybe Phil, you'd be able to answer that, because it is happening frequently, and Ten Hag seems to be getting the brunt of it. But is that more down to the manager, or is that a player mentality?
Good question. Great question, Freddie.
Yeah, it's a strange one. I think, obviously, for me as a player, the manager sends you out with a game plan and sort of a style of play and what have you. But I think during a game, for me personally, I believe the players should be managing games better and being more professional and just smelling danger a little bit more. I think obviously today it was a difficult game, and even after scoring 2 early goals, I still didn't feel, because of the way we was playing and sort of some of the cheap turnovers and the sort of decision making, the game was dead and buried. And then obviously when the goal went in, Luton's tails are up again, and I think that's when we're at the most vulnerable at the moment, with a little bit of adversity, not being able to man manage a game, have the sort of leadership and the sort of players who can grab the game by the scruff of the neck and sort of just calm us down again and get back to playing football. So I think it's a bit of a harsh one really for me to sort of put a lot of blame on the manager for that in sort of the last couple of games, especially in them kind of scenarios. You'd expect your more experienced players to sort of be the ones that are talking and sort of leading by example on the pitch and just making better decisions. I think we've seen a lot of poor decisions today in terms of Maguire was one at the free kick. You don't play a square ball, especially when you're under the cosh. That ball inside there is a very risky ball at the best of times. But when you've just conceded and Luton's tails are up, you just play that into the channel and you squeeze up the pitch, and then you sort of try and play in there after 5 or 10 minutes. I think them kind of decisions and passes that we were giving away was just encouraging them more and making it more difficult for us to sort of get a foothold back in the game. So I would be more leaning towards the players rather than the manager, if it was my opinion.
I'm full agreement. Freddie and Hamma both know, Phil, I'm all about player responsibility first. I think once you cross that white line, I mean, you did it week in, week out. It's your responsibility, isn't it? The way that you play your game, your performance is down to you as an individual, as a footballer. Yeah, and so I've always said that. A lot of fans say, well, it's bad tactics in-house, but how many times have you been told to do something, you've noticed that one or two of your teammates haven't done anything, you've got to kind of fall into line with what they're doing. Otherwise, you're that disjointed and fragmented, you can't play together as a unit. So you're almost pulled into it. And I think also when you're playing against a team like Luton, who are massively industrious, you know, people look at today's game and think, wow, you know, we should be beating Luton 4-5-6-0. Doesn't happen in football at any level of football. It's all about what happens on the day. And Casemiro today is a great example of an on-the-day player. Maguire, great example of an on-the-day player. Last week, Maguire could hardly put a foot wrong, did he? He was a good 9. I know Freddie scored him less. I can't believe it, but you know, I gave him a 10, by the way, Phil, as you know. But the point being, today was a completely different Maguire. Yeah. You know, the turn up was a different Casemiro again, wasn't it? Different Bruno to it, you know, again, different Rashford. So this is the thing that fans have got to sometimes understand, that when you cross that white line, it is the players' collective responsibility to go out and win that game of football. And I totally agree with you about the experienced players. Casemiro should have stopped today, taken 10 yards back and said, look, lads, this is what's happening around me. This is what I can see. We've got to stop. We've got to stop Chong. We've got to stop the right winger. I can't remember his name now. Alfie Doughty keeps putting the crosses in, you know, that type of thing. Freddie was absolutely right. Our fullbacks were pushed back for most of the first half. And it's a bit of an issue for us. We've got to start, and players have got to start taking more responsibility, better responsibility. What's happening on that pitch? I did think it was a strange game at points, but also I believe that we allowed them to look better than what they actually were. I thought Luton were great. I'm not disagreeing with what people are saying, but I thought we allowed them to be great. And you can't, and again, you know this, Phil, better than all of us on this panel, you can't allow someone to even get an inch, you know, in a football match, because they'll take that fucking mile. Yeah. And Luton did today. And, you know, Freddie, I want to come back to you again on Chong, because, and lads, actually, please, all three of you chime in on this, because I thought Chong was quite a catalyst for them today. Surprised me. I never saw that in Taith Chong when he was with us. I didn't see that industry, that aggression. He was really aggressive today, I thought, and he was on the front foot rather than on the back foot. So, just, yeah, Freddie, I just want you to elaborate on that. Don't mean to put you on the spot, mate, but I just thought
no. Yeah, look, he's developed into a good player, Chong, and he didn't necessarily get that many opportunities at us for us to see that, but he has a role in that team, and you know, I think the environment suits him. So yeah, I think they were all on the front foot. Another player that stood out for me was Lokonga for them. I thought he was brilliant, and you know, that block on Bruno's first one going round, superb. And you know, they're all very good. I think each and every one of them can come off the field holding their head up. But yeah, Chong and the right wing back who you mentioned, his name escapes me. Is it Ogbert, who's just rapid? We're just very good today. Ogbeni. They've got a very good system, and he's doing very well there, Rob Edwards. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the rest of their season plans out.
No, I totally agree. Hamma, I'm coming to you as the second resident defender, or my partner in crime at centre half. What do you think of our defensive play today? Because again, I think the lads were spot on with Maguire, Shaw. I think there's an underlying issue with Shaw. Absolutely right. Phil in his day would have been you stay on and you hobble off at half time, mate. You don't go off, you don't change it. With 2 minutes to go, it's ridiculous. So, just give us your overall thoughts and what you thought of Dallo today.
Yeah, well, I'll go across the board. I can start with Dallo. I think he made some good recoveries on some of the times where we got caught out in the back, but I think that's also due to him having to, because we allow him so much freedom now. I think like there's some times where he's also working in the center of the pitch instead of just up and down the right side and stuff like that. And I mean, I guess if that's what Ten Hag really does want, but he gets a little bit excited going up sometimes. But I think he did all right coming back. I have to give him credit, just like we have been, I think, for a couple of weeks, that he has improved his defensive work a lot. And if he can balance the two, I don't know if he's the 100% solution. Maybe he can continue to get better, but he's doing a lot better to improve, and he's really taken that spot. And I think Wan-Bissaka is going to be the one out the door, like it was looking like it was going to be a couple seasons ago. Varane, I think, played well, played very well. He showed that. I think he showed that he shouldn't have been on the bench for those weeks. Even with the rotations and Maguire playing well, he should have been pairing with Maguire instead of being on the bench.
Yeah.
And then Maguire, I think he got hurt, and I'm sorry to put that in the air, but he kept playing, but he went down after one of those he said reach out for a poke on a tackle, and he went down on his knee, and he's a big motherfucker. Sorry, and he's a big guy, so
he's a big guy. Yeah.
Going down on your knee like that is not fun. But him and Casemiro were losing control, which was ridiculous at the end of that first half for both of them to get booked in the ways that they did. And Casemiro, lucky that he didn't get sent off. And then, like I think Freddie mentioned, Johnny Evans, I think, played extremely well when he came on. And Stu, I think it like this. I thought he the first few instances we had to get involved, he was an old school center back, right? Like he was playing like when he was here before the first time. And then Shaw. If Shaw's injury, actually at this point, I don't care what the injury was, right? Like I don't care if he was like whoever was in charge should have kept him out and and they let him back too early or whatever it is. But he is now on the level, unfortunately, of Martial with injuries. And on his day, he is very top level and he's exactly what we need at left back and all that. But if he's going to have, several weeks to months long injuries every season, then we can't keep that on a consistent basis if we want to get back to the level that I think everybody wants us back to.
Trevor's at you again, Hamma.
Listen, Trevor, if you got a problem, we can have a conversation somewhere. No, I'm kidding.
We love you, Trev. We love you, Trev. Phil, I am going to give you the thorny subject of Casemiro today, actually, because I was massively disappointed. I'm a big fan of his, the way that he's kind of started to control games for us the last couple of times, but today he lost his head, didn't he?
Yeah, big time. I think it sort of was compounded with sort of like a mad 5 minutes. I think he had, there was a few heavy touches, some bad passes. I think he sort of had a snap at Garnacho about maybe one of the passes that he played into him that led to his yellow card, and then I just think sometimes, when you look at a player like Casemiro, who's played at the very top level and who's won what he's won, playing with some of the best players in the world, you expect that level of maturity and that to just come as a sort of given, really, with a player like him because of where he's been and what he's done, and he's obviously played in front of massive crowds all over the world. So I think today it was just a case of not really recovering from sort of the first couple of mistakes and then compiling mistake after mistake, and then being quite lucky really to stay on the pitch with the tackle on Ross Barkley. So for me, it was just one of them games. I wouldn't read too much into it. I think on his day he's still a very good player and he's someone who we will definitely need, and that experience is there. I just think today in particular, he just showed a little bit of ill discipline and maybe should have sort of took a little bit more ownership on some of the stuff that was maybe his own fault, and he was trying to maybe pass the buck to somebody else. But for me, I still rate him, and I think he's a great player. I just would rule that down to maybe a bad day in the office today for him personally. But I think sometimes when that is the case, I've been there plenty of times myself when it's not quite happening for yourself, and you're not having a great day, and you sort of try and maybe blame others because you're not getting the service that's right for you, or your passing's not good because it's their fault. I think sometimes you just have to knuckle down and then just go right back to basics. Just drop a little bit deeper, get the ball, get a few passes in, simple passes, even if it's back to the goalkeeper. Just calm yourself down and play yourself back into the game. And I don't think we really got a chance to do that because of how so many mistakes were being made all across the board. And obviously give credit to Luton. I think they was smelling it and they could sense that we was under the cosh a little bit, and they was just pushing up higher and putting us under a lot more pressure than he probably was doing in the first 10-15 minutes, and he sort of could smell blood a little bit. So, bit of a mix really with we was sort of shooting ourselves in the foot, and Luton were up and at it and in our faces and giving us something to think about, which we couldn't really answer at that moment in the game.
No, I totally agree. I mean, to an extent, you've experienced what you're talking about, Casemiro, and I don't want to hang you out to dry, but you have come from Manchester United to other levels of football, so you played at the highest level you can get as a professional footballer, and coming down to, you must have experienced something very similar, and it's all about being able to adapt, isn't it? Yeah. Making sure, okay, just relax. This is where I'm at now. Let me help them, guide them, rather than get frustrated. Is that what you tried to do? Did you find something similar? As I said, I don't want to hang out to dry.
No, 100%. Totally. I think it's a big transition, obviously, from playing at the levels when I was at United to sort of playing in non-league and lower. I think you've got to have a lot more patience, and you've got to be more adaptable and flexible. But again, I think once you understand and you sort of come to the realization that a lot of these players aren't going to be on the same wavelength, and they're not sort of playing at the levels maybe you are in your head at times, you just grow to sort of adjust and adapt to that, and then you're just trying to give advice and encourage, and just try and be a good sort of person, a role model really to look up to and ask questions. I think a lot of, especially in the last sort of 4 or 5 years of my career, I've had a lot of younger players who sort of ask me for advice and for questions, and just little things here and there to try and help them improve their game, which is great, because for me, I've obviously played at a lot of different levels from United to non-league levels, so I've experienced loads of different sort of games and sort of all the variables you can think of. So it's good for me to sort of be able to share that and just try and help with different scenarios and situations for what people may need that little bit of extra help or advice.
No, absolutely. Thanks for that, Phil. Appreciate it. Freddie, just before we go to we're in 33 minutes in, so it's flown by already. Interesting chat. It's been tonight as well. So, Freddie, I am going to give you the equally thorny subject of Bruno Fernandes again. I don't know why we keep having this thorny. So I was going to give it a Hammer, but I'm letting him off. He's got family in, they're cooking for him, so I'm going to allow him to relax and chill today. But it's a conversation still, isn't it, Freddie? That's the trouble. It's still a conversation. It's still a question about where is he in his Manchester United career right now? Where is he in his mind?
Yeah, I think it was very underwhelming today, and he has been for the last few games. Unfortunately, he's getting in good positions. He's getting on the edge of the boxes. He is getting involved in play, but I think he's just getting accustomed to the players around him. The front three ahead of him are relatively new and relatively fresh, so I think he's still sort of getting used to their game as well. But there are times today, he gave the ball away quite a few times today, which wasn't great. He missed a few chances. I think he had one shot and it hit McTominay. I think it was by Bruno, and I thought that was going to go in. So it could have been a different story had that gone in. But he hasn't been great this year. Hopefully, it's just a little bit of a patch, and we do see the best out of him in the coming games because we need, if we are going to be successful, we need a strong Bruno Fernandes. He's saved us in so many times since joining the club. But I put that personally, I put it down to just new front three, couple of new midfielders behind him, mainly, who's just still getting used to his surroundings. And absolutely. I think that does have an impact. It does have an impact. There's not been any consistency this season, and some players are hindered by that. So I think today was the first time we've gone into a game with the same 11 since August. So hopefully we can get a bit of consistency on that front. I know Luke Shaw's injured, but if the majority of players can sort of stay fit and we have a consistent lineup going forward, hopefully he benefits from that. But yeah, not great today, unfortunately.
Freddie, I totally agree with you actually, because I think it's the Eriksen conundrum. I really do. Ericsson allows him to have this free role. Mino does allow him to have this free role, but I don't think he's quite. I don't know. There's just something not right with Bruno when Mino plays, but you can't remove Mino out the side and put Ericsson back in. That's why I call it the Ericsson conundrum, because he knows what he gets with Ericsson. He knows he can have this free role and play the curvature behind the front three. With Kobe, by the way, who I thought was absolutely outstanding again today. His spatial awareness. I described him as having a 5-yard force field around him, because nobody gets near him. Nobody can penetrate him for that 5 yards. He gets the ball, turns, and he's like, there's nobody around him. He's a phenomenon when it comes to that. But there's just something that's not clicking between Casemiro, Mino, and Bruno that's clicked with Casemiro, Ericsson, and Bruno. And that's why I call it the Ericsson conundrum. That's all.
I mean, the only thing I'll add to that as well is that he's
any day, by the way.
I'm sorry.
Just saying that I've Mino any day. I'm just saying.
Totally agree.
I think it's the Ericsson conundrum. That's all.
I think he's been playing. The other thing is that he's been playing deep this season. He's been playing forwards. He's been all over the place. So I think since Manu has come in, and this, I mean, on paper, these three are our strongest midfielders. We've probably got the best record with those
100%.
three. I think he just needs to get accustomed as well to playing a bit further forward, like he used to when he joined us. Second, like a shadow striker, effectively behind Højlund. Get used to playing that as well, because he has been playing a lot deeper before Manu was integrated into the first team. So maybe it's a little bit of that as well. Consistency in his own position. Yeah,
I totally agree. Hamma, just one more quick question to you. I'm going to give you another thorny subject, which is Garnacho. I know if I was on the pitch and Phil was on the pitch, Garnacho would have been kicked into Rose for not scoring that third, and which would have made the game a lot tighter, because let's face it, he got round and had a gaping goal and decided to come back on himself. Please explain to me what the hell he was doing.
There was a few times where I was wondering what Garnacho was doing, and a few people up top in terms of their decision making. The kid, he seems to have a goal in him at times, but I think, and maybe you can say it's age, and if you want to, that's fine, but his decision making is shadowing Rashford's decision making when it was at its worst at times. Like, there's times, just like you said on that one, and I think I mentioned it too, there was a few other of our players who did it in my last one that I mentioned about, who were just taking that too much of extra touch, doing a little bit at one or two things too much, that just allows the goalkeeper to get back on space, just allows the defense to get back on space. Even at lower levels, when you take those extra times, all you're doing is allowing people to recover. So even more so at the highest level, I can't even imagine fucking half a touch is too much time, because you're gonna let the defenders come back. So I think that's what the issue that's going on with him is. It's his decision making, and maybe we can put it down to age, but with all the issues going on the right wing, and now even Ten Hag seeming to drop his golden boy in himself and Anthony, he's going to have to start improving. So he's going to need to start improving on that decision makings, and he seems to be building a connection with Højlund, which I think maybe that connection was a little bit of what word can I use here? Universal karma type magic, because he shanked that off his shin, and somehow it went right to Højlund's chest. So. Yeah, maybe it just comes down to decision making, but he needs to start taking the opportunities, because all that's going to happen is we're going to go into the summer window with the way these new guys coming in, Ineos and all them, and they're going to be like, all right, well, he's not ready to start yet. Put him back on the bench unless he'll get somebody, and that's all that's going to happen.
I think it's going to be interesting a few months. I mean, if we can start picking points up consistently now, we get to fourth place, because we're not going to get to third. Second off, we're definitely getting first anyway.
One thing this is definitely our best front three. I think they've got
right now
they're undefeated in 7 games, 7 out of 7. They haven't lost a game yet. And
I'm sorry, I don't mean to be pessimistic in terms of all of it, but like we don't. So my point is, in terms of why I mentioned Anthony and stuff, we don't got options. So no. and it doesn't seem like Ten Hag trusts any of the other couple young options we have yet. So he's going to have to start improving because of happenstance.
Well, if you look at the Bundesliga, I think Harry Kane will be winging his way back to the UK in June, because he's not going to win the Bundesliga, is he?
Oh God,
poor guy. He must be. Well, that's if he doesn't slit his throat.
Jesus.
Because didn't they win it something like 10 years on the bounce? Harry Kane goes there, or 9 years on the bounce, or whatever. Harry Kane goes there. They got beat today 2-1 to Bochum, didn't they? So there you go. Who knows? I'd take Kane for 2 years. I think he'd break Shearer's record. He scored something like 30 goals as well, and they're still 5 points off him. Anyway, guys, we've got about 5 minutes left. Let's do the old scores. I'm not a huge fan of scoring our players, but Phil, we'll start with you. We'll give you the comedy. No, sorry, our goalkeeper. Where did I get comedy from? Yeah, our goalkeeper. It didn't have anything to do apart from a flap. Oh, and maybe the tip onto the bar. Did he tip it onto the bar, the Barkley header?
It looked like from one angle he definitely got a touch on it, and then when I watched it again, it didn't look like he was anywhere near it. So I'm not 100% sure on that. But again, as you say, he was quiet. He didn't really have that much to do. Didn't look convincing for the goal. Just came out and sort of flapped it and didn't really sort of commit to anything. So I'm gonna give him a 6.5.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. You happy with that?
Yeah, happy with that. I did notice that there was a bit of a tactical change today. He wasn't playing out from the back at all. He just, as soon as he got it, he was going direct. So there was obviously a bit of a game plan there with their fullback pushing up, go diagonal, and then one of our wingers get on it. So yeah, it makes sense.
By the way, just I know. Well, he's not in the comments, so we can't complain. So I know. Sorry to just jump in again real quick. It took me longer than I would have liked, but I figured out what our play out from the back is, and it gives me a heart attack every time. Like we're just trying to get it either either Onana or somebody in the middle who can just slot it out to the sides and then just bomb up the sidelines. But it's a heart attack every time, because if they can't get it to somebody out to the side, then they're just trapped. And it's like,
Hamma, as Phil would probably attest to, playing out from the back is nothing new. Guardiola didn't invent it. He didn't invent a false number 9, just so you all know. They've been doing it for years.
I know. I'm just saying.
Absolute order.
The one we're doing right now, it gives me a heart attack every time I got to watch it.
When Phil was at United, were you there from about 9 years old, something like that, Phil?
I joined when I was 11, so yeah, late night.
But you were taught then to play out from the back, weren't you? It's nothing new. It's nothing new. The goalkeeper, Stepney used to do it in the 70s. Sorry to burst your bubble, lads. It's new. It's nothing new. Sorry, Hammer, I'm not bursting your bubble.
No.
Anyway, Dallo, Freddie, look at that grin, because you knew I was going to give you Dallo, didn't you?
I'm a big fan this season. I'm really enjoying Dallo. Yeah, I know I used to be one of his biggest critics, so you've got to give credit where credit's due. I think again he did well today. Like I said earlier, most of their attacks were on his side, and I think him and Garnacho actually defended well when they needed to. So yeah, I'll give him I don't think ratings are going to be high today because the performance across the board wasn't great, but I'd probably give him a 6.5 as well as Onana. I guess that would be the average.
You okay with that, you guys? 6.5?
Yeah,
not bad.
Good on you, Hammer. So do we give you Maguire or do we give you Evans? I thought Evans was better than Maguire today, so I'm going to give you Evans and Varane. I thought Varane was solid, but I'm going to give Evans and Varane.
Varane, I am going to give him. Yeah, I think what Freddie said is right in terms of how harsh the scores are going to be. So I'm going to give Varane a 7.5. He could have gotten, I think if it was a better overall team performance, which I guess isn't fair to him, but if it was better overall team performance, I might have given him a little bit higher. But I'll give him a 7.5, and I'll give Evans a 7 because, like, Varane was very calm and controlled in the back. And I think in our team being so hectic, he was one of the few, like Mano, who was calm in the team. And then Evans, like I said, he came in and just decided to play like an old school center back and was just bullying people. He was just knocking people over. That's how you do
it. That's how you do it. He gets a 10 then. That's
what signing. What signing, by the way, Johnny Evans. That's gone really under the radar.
Great. He's been amazing. I hope he stays on as a coach. I think
probably will.
yeah,
Him and
I
Phil
think
Jones in the 18s.
Jonah.
I actually spoke to Johnny about 4 or 5 weeks ago in Trafford Centre, and I bumped into him. I was just doing some shopping, and I spoke to him, and he was amazed at how much football he's played. Like, obviously, he was made up to be back at the club, and obviously, we had a quick chat and stuff. But he said, I literally can't believe how many games I've played since I've been back, and he said, I just, I'm absolutely loving it, like I was a kid again. So, as you say, he has been a great signing and somebody who has gone under the radar. I think he's been probably one of our best defenders overall, really, in terms of you look at all the games he's played and sort of, some of the performances he's put in has been, really good. And obviously someone to learn, some of the younger kids, a bit of experience. And yeah, I think he's done really well.
Yeah,
no, I totally agree.
Are you keeping Maguire for yourself? Are you keeping Maguire for yourself, Stu?
Well, he's a 10, isn't he? He's a stonewall 10. Actually, to be fair, I was disappointed with Maguire today. So, as I know football and understand centre-half play, he gets a 4 from me. He was fucking abysmal.
I think today, Stu, you might think the striker Morris. I think he's a bit of a handful, and he was getting a little bit too tight with him at times. Sometimes you just gotta, back off and don't let him turn. But he was trying to get in a fight with him and wrestle him and giving so many needless free kicks away, which they play for them and put balls in the box. So again, unnecessary pressure.
No, I agree with that because I've done. Vicky, hey Vicky, sweetie. The wife is in the chat, guys, so keep it clean. She's giving Maguire a 6. She knows I love Maguire as well. She's giving him a 6. Thank you, sweetie. Actually, you're absolutely right. He was an absolute handful, Morris. I would have dropped off 2 yards, maybe a forearms distance. Try to keep him forearms distance and give him the old knuckle just to the bottom of the back, just give him something to think about. But Maguire didn't. Maguire was getting really tight and was wrestling him around the throat a lot, I noticed, and around the side. And he's a big lad as well, wasn't he, Morris? And so
so it's difficult for centre halves, and I think that's his game. He loves when people are wrestling with him because that's what he wants, and he can just maybe get a free kick.
100% loves the scrap.
My go-to is always shoulders because I'm winning that shit 9 times out of 10.
I do a bit of both. I mix shoulders and forearm and whatever else I need. That's what I do. Interestingly enough, he reminded me, Morris, of Troy Deeney. Very similar in the way that they play. Troy Deeney likes a scrap as well, doesn't he? He always back in and that. So he reminded me of that. So Luke Shaw, I thought had a decent half until he went off. I thought he was okay. I don't know what you guys thought.
Yeah, I'd just give, to be fair, the full back four, really, 6.5, around about 7-ish is probably a fair reflection. I don't think anyone necessarily stood out today, but I think he was all, pretty decent and just, worthy of a sort of average score. I don't think there was anything necessarily majorly wrong. I think obviously Maguire was probably the worst out of the back four for me today, just in terms of, wrong decisions, the free kick, playing a needless ball inside and just getting too tight, really not being, disciplined enough to sort of drop off and use his experience.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Agree.
Yeah.
Are we going to score Lindelof? Did a half, didn't they?
6.5.
Yeah. So, Casemiro, here we go. I'm going to get told off again in a minute. So I won't score Casemiro.
I mean, I'll give him a quick one. It'll be probably a 5 or a 6. I don't know if anybody's going to think that's harsh. I think, again, overall, the team played well in the first 15 minutes. Same thing with him. But I think Phil mentioned it, once a couple mistakes started happening, they just continued to compile. And I think everybody can agree he's lucky he was still on at the end of the first half.
Yeah, no, fair enough. We all agree with that?
Yeah, I think a 5 because I think for his standards and his own, I think he will look at that performance himself probably and be, he'll be the first one to understand that he's been very lucky today to stay on the pitch and been below par. So if it was me, I'd be harsh on myself and be scoring myself like a 4 or a 5.
Yeah, I'd be doing the same. Kobe, again, he's going to probably get one of the higher end scores, I'd imagine. I thought he was tremendous again today. What's your thoughts there, Freddie?
Could I just, first of all, that yellow card was the the worst one I've seen this season,
Shocking.
and I'm not even exaggerating. Perfect tackle, really good tackle. I couldn't believe it, and that led to a chance which just went past the post.
That's right. Yeah.
So shocking. 7.5. I think this is like his 10th. I think 8th or 9th, 10th game maybe in a row, and he's really impressing each week. He's really growing into the role, making it his own, as we touched upon earlier. During the sort of middle period of the game when we really couldn't regain possession, he was the only one who looked like he could. He was doing those sort of two-step touches around players. I actually read a stat, an Opta stat earlier that he dribbled past 7. He did 7 dribbles, which was the most since a Paul Pogba game a couple of years ago. So, yeah, look, he's developing into a really good player. I'm just looking at the comments. Ian Wright has called him or requested he be called up to the England squad for the Euros. I think that's a little bit too early, personally.
Too early. I'd have him in the squad around the hotel, but I wouldn't.
Yeah.
A bit too
early.
But
one of the first names on the team sheet at the moment. So I'll give a 7.5. One of the higher rated players today.
No, I'd agree with that. You happy with that, lads?
Yeah.
Living up to that first name. Sorry, go ahead, Phil.
No, man was just short and sweet. I agree. I think him and Hoyland today probably the two standouts. And I don't know if any of you got onto the when he did the little pirouette, the little Maradona under pressure and sort of ball, and that was like 3 men around him. And as I said, the maturity levels for such a young lad and sort of being able to keep a ball is just mustard really for me.
And he came out there with 2 yards of space as well.
Yeah.
There was nobody around him. He came out with mate, he's phenomenal.
I think I tweeted it because I saw some people complaining about some games and stuff. And yes, there's always stuff to complain about, but like I get you want to see the goals and all that, but if you can't love all parts of the football and what Kobe Mano does as in such a simple and calm way, I mean, come on.
I'm quite looking forward to seeing him in 2-3 years' time.
Yeah.
Just where he is then. I think.
Oh, and if he builds up a little bit too, oh my god.
Yeah, it'd be brilliant if he puts on a bit of. I'm sure that. I mean, he's 18, isn't he?
Yeah, he's 18. There's no comparisons coming, but there's a certain balding French guy that you would maybe lean.
That'd be nice. That'd be very nice, wouldn't
it? Guys, Bruno. Oh, here we go. That's Hammer. Hammer time.
You got it. Okay.
Hammer time.
I'm gonna give. Oh God. I'm gonna give him a 6. Because mainly on his wastefulness today. I know some people complain about his wastefulness a lot, but it wasn't just wastefulness. It was non-thinking wastefulness. I think there were too many times when he was trying to just do too much and things weren't coming off. And with how much they were attacking, we needed to control the game. And I think he needs to start working that more into his game instead of trying to hit the hero ball every time.
Yeah, you get no argument from me, lads.
Yeah, I'll probably drop down 1 to 5. If we're giving the defense a 6, I'd give him a 5. So maybe a bit too harsh, but yeah.
No, I'm happy with that. I think I agree with Freddie. Maybe slightly lower than a 6. He's about right for Bruno.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The final 3 then, really. Do you want to score McTominay? I didn't think he did a great deal, really. I want to say ghosted in and out, but I think ghost is the right word for him.
Just a little cameo today. Yeah. I don't think he necessarily did anything wrong, but he didn't really sort of have the impact that probably the manager was hoping when he came on. But it's a difficult game. I think this, coming on in that type of game is hard to get up to speed, especially when Luton are in the ascendancy and you're not getting much ball. It was a difficult game to come on to, I think, today for McTominay. So I'd give him a 5 or 6. It'd be probably about right.
Yeah. Well, Vicky said here, the good lady says that McTominay only did 10 passes in 45 minutes. I think that says it all. So we'll go for that. Final 3. I'm not so sure about that, Alex.
He's on the. He said it himself.
You might want to throw an apology in the group chat, mate. We don't need that. Final 3 then. We will go with. We'll leave Hoyland till the end because I thought he was terrific again today. Rashford will be interesting.
We've not actually mentioned Rashford's name, I don't think.
I think there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
I think in parts he did very, very well. In parts, really. Oh dear, Alex. What an idiot. Well, just get rid of this prick then. See ya. Dick. Anyway, that's Alex gone. So, yes, Rashford.
Yeah. I'd give him a 6 first of all. I just think he's very flat-footed. He just seems to be sort of not as energetic as Højlund and Garnacho. He had a better second half. He had a few shots and a few dribbles. I think his pass to Garnacho, which led on to his 1-on-1, was very good, but he's just too passive. He has sort of 2 or 3 involvements over the course of 90 minutes, and we need to see more from him. Need to be more sort of on his toes. More. He seems to just be void of confidence still. I know he's had a few goals recently, but every time he sort of faced with the defender last season, he'd be dribbling. He'll take on a few, go on the outside, on the inside. He's just passing backwards or passing on the inside at the minute. So I think a 6 today. He did have a shot, and their goalie did have a decent game, but I want to see more from him. So
yeah, that strike in the first half, a couple of yards either side, he scores.
Yeah,
he does. I mean, I thought
that little flick was it that?
It was a flick save. It was a good save, but a couple of yards either side, he scores that. So maybe Rashford is 8. You all right with that, Leonard? 6 each.
Yeah. I agree with Freddie. I think you just, for the player that we've seen last year, you just want more from him, and you just feel like sometimes he's playing within himself and not really doing enough to have an impact on the game. Even if sometimes it's not, effective in the attacking third, you just want to see more energy and more. You feel like shaking him sometimes and like sort of saying, "Come on, what's going on?" He just sort of seems to sort of be.
That's what I wanted to do.
Cocoon at time, I agree. I think today he did some good things, but you expect a lot more for a player of his ability.
It's a bit like what you said about Casemiro. I feel like these are senior players. But the difference is they've set the bar now. So if they're not near that, then they're going to get harshly rated. But
I think that's how it should be. So it should be.
Absolutely. Yeah. But there seems to be a big gulf between our senior players, which he is one of now, and your Højlunds, your Garnachos, your Mainus, and the senior players need to step up. I mean, if you look at the disappointments today, Maguire, Bruno, Rashford, Casemiro, it's not good enough. Yeah. So something needs to happen there.
Yeah, I totally agree. 2 more to go, Garnacho and then Højlund. So, Phil, we'll give you Garnacho.
I think his effort and his endeavour and the sort of energy was there. I think, he's been a little bit wasteful today. I think, in previous games, he's sort of been a lot better with his end product and sort of his decision making. But I think today it just sort of it wasn't quite there. Obviously, the assist for Højlund was very fortuitous. I don't think he meant that at all. The one where he's gone through, we've touched on too many touches. Not being decisive enough. But overall, I mean, I would never criticise a player if you've put a shift in and you're sort of trying to do the right things. So I think probably around about a 6.5, a 6 would be a fair reflection for me today.
I think so. I'm happy with that. You guys?
Yeah.
So the main man himself, I think he's elevated himself again. I thought 2 really, really smart finishes. Disappointed he didn't pop his hat-trick away. I think if he just flicked it rather than trying to flick it over, flicked it low, would have scored. But it's easier said than done from the armchair, isn't it, guys? But Freddie, I'll give you Højlund.
You've got to give him an 8. 8 man of the match, 2 goals. He's broken the records for youngest player to score 6 in a row.
Yeah, he's turned over Haaland, hasn't he? He's turned over Haaland.
7 and 6 with 2 assists. I love him. I actually love him. I think looking at his profile, he's 6 foot. He's fast. He's both footed. He's good at finishing. He's good at holding up the ball. He's good at bringing players in around him. He's really got the potential to develop into like an actual world-class striker. So I think he's sort of proved a lot of people wrong this season. and proved a lot of people right, those who knew that this was going to come after he got his first goal. So got to give him an 8. Hopefully the streak continues and man of the match performance.
Yeah, terrific. I agree. 8 for me. Lads, you happy with that?
Yeah. And can I just say 2 things? I'll keep mine short. One is he's I think he's starting to more and more learn how to use his frame. He's built and he's big, I think, and if he can learn how to use it more, it'll be really good. And 2, am I wrong in trying to line up the timing that this all started with Hoyland when is it Van Persie has been getting his coaching badges with us? I don't know if I'm right.
He has been floating around
lining those up correctly.
I think the Villa game was slightly before, but I'm sure it's helped. One thing that I'm sure you'll appreciate, Stu, is, and it's something I noticed playing in our away kit. He's the only one on the pitch whose shirt is full of mud, and I think that's quite telling.
I almost put that in the group chat because I noticed that. I noticed it as well, and I thought to myself, did he change his kit at half time or not? And I agree. He gets stuck in. I like it, and he's getting on with it. He's accepting the knocks and the bumps now. He's accepting it. He's just going down. He's getting on with it. I think you're right. I think he was sweating. He put a proper shift in. He was my man.
I think the manager's managing him well as well. He's doing well, Ten Hag. He's had a lot of criticism, the manager, and you've got to give credit where credit's due. I mean, we've run I think we're undefeated in 2024. Appreciate we haven't got midweek games in Europe, but you've got to credit when it is going well. So I think he's doing well. He's developing him into a good player and a good person as well. I mean, if you listen to his sort of interviews after the game, he seems to be very humble, and I think that's very telling. Usually those types of individuals that speak well go on to have a good career. So I think that's the case with him.
He's well spoken, very well spoken. Guys, that's it. We're just done over the hour, so well done. It's been a great show as always. Thank you all for joining. Just a quick reminder that we are partnered up with Manchester Mind. There is a number where you can text and donate. Please do. Charities like Manchester Mind need everything they can in terms of donations, so please do. Once again, as a reminder that you can contact any of us on the Devil's Advocate podcast if you just want to chat. We'll always be there for you. Do not suffer in silence. Guys, it's been a terrific show. Hamma, where can people find you?
You can always find me mostly on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, right there at Hamma United. And then on the mental health thing, if you also need like a motivational podcast, check out the link in my Twitter. It'll take you right to it.
Yes, please. And Freddie, for yourself?
Yeah, likewise, Twitter and most match reviews on the channel most weekends.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, and Phil.
Yeah, same again. Twitter's usually the place I'll be hanging around. My Twitter handle's at Marshy20. It's not there tonight, but you'll find me somewhere, I'm sure.
If you want to get and you can abuse me at Stu Woolley, as most people do. Feel free to do that because it's all good fun. I think we're back. I know Jonathan's show is likely to be back during the week. We'll be back next. Are we Saturday or Sunday, guys? I haven't looked. Terrible.
I think 3:00 Saturday, I think.
So we'll be back Saturday evening, probably about 7:00, I would think. And then you may be able to see Phil somewhere tomorrow night, all to be revealed. But guys, thank you ever so much. Been absolutely brilliant. I'm going to play the outro and we are out of here. All the very best.